Hello, Internet. It's time to read the Bible. Doing an extra one before I go to bed because why not? I'm still behind. Uh, we are beginning in Joshua chapter 3, verse 1 to chapter 4, verse 24. We're going to try a voice I've never practiced, never tried before. Let's see how it goes. Early the next morning, Joshua and all the people of Israel left Acacia and arrived that evening at the banks of the Jordan River, where they camped for a few days before crossing. On the third day, officers went through the camp, giving these instructions. When you see the priests carrying the ark of God, follow them. You have never before been where we are going now, so they will guide you. However, stay about a half mile behind with a clear space between you and the ark. Be sure that you don't get any closer. Then Joshua told the people to purify themselves, for tomorrow, he said, the Lord will do a great miracle. I'm trying to do kind of a African, the "Why are you running?" kind of voice. I can do that quote. I've not heard that accent enough to be super accurate. But I'm doing my best. I hope you enjoy. Sorry I spoiled. I just felt like explaining it. In the morning, Joshua ordered the priests, take up the ark and lead us across the river. And so they started out. Today, the Lord told Joshua, I will give you great honor, so that all Israel will know that I am with you just as I was with Moses. Instruct the priests who are carrying the ark to stop at the edge of the river. When Joshua summoned all the people and told them, come and listen to what the Lord your God has said. Today you are going to know for sure that the living God is among you, and that he will, without fail, drive out the Canaanites, Hittites, Hivites, Perizzites, Girgashites, Amorites, and Jebusites, all the people who now live in the land you will soon occupy. Think of it. The ark of God, who is Lord of the whole earth, will lead you across the river. Now select 12 men, one from each tribe, for a special task. When the priests who are carrying the ark touch the water with their feet, the river will stop flowing as though held back by a dam, and will pile up as though against an invisible wall. Now it was the harvest season, and the Jordan was overflowing all its banks. But as the people set out to cross the river, and as the feet of the priests who were carrying the ark touched the water at the river's edge, suddenly, far up the river, at the city of Adam, near Zarathan, the water began piling up as though against a dam, and the water below that point flowed on to the Dead Sea until the riverbed was empty. Then all the people crossed at the spot where the river was close to the city of Jericho. And the priests who were carrying the ark stood on dry ground in the middle of the Jordan and waited as all the people passed by. When all the people were safely across, the Lord said to Joshua, tell the 12 men, chosen for a special task, one from each tribe, each to take a stone from the priests, from where the priests are standing in the middle of the Jordan, and to carry them out and pile them up as a monument at the place where you camp tonight. So Joshua summoned the 12 men and told them so. Go into the middle of the Jordan where the ark is. Each of you is to carry out a stone on your own shoulder, 12 stones in all, one for each of the 12 tribes. You will use them to build a monument so that in the future, when your children ask, what is this monument for? You can tell them it is to remind us that the Jordan River stopped flowing when the ark of God went across. The monument will be a permanent reminder to the people of Israel of this amazing miracle. So the men did as Joshua told them. They took 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan River, one for each tribe, just as the Lord had commanded Joshua. They carried them to the place where they were camped for the night. and constructed a monument there. Joshua also built another monument of 12 stones in the middle of the river, at the place where the priests were standing, and it is there to this day. The priests who were carrying the ark stood in the middle of the river until all these instructions of the Lord, which had been given to Joshua by Moses, had been carried out. Meanwhile, the people had hurried across the riverbed, and when everyone was over, the people watched the priests carry the ark up out of the riverbed. The troops of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh, fully armed as Moses had instructed, and 40,000 strong, led the other tribes of the Lord's army across the plains of Jericho. It was a tremendous day for Joshua. The Lord made him great in the eyes of all the people of Israel, and they revered him as much as they had Moses, and respected him deeply all the rest of his life. For it was Joshua who, at the Lord's command, issued the orders to the priests carrying the ark. Come up from the riverbed, the Lord now told him to command them. Soon Joshua issued the order, and as soon as the priests came out, the water poured down again, as usual, and overflowed the banks of the river as before. This miracle occurred on the 25th of March. That day, the entire nation crossed the Jordan River and camped in Gilgal at the eastern edge of the city of Jericho. And there the 12 stones from the Jordan were piled up as a monument. Then Joshua explained again the purpose of the stones. In the future, he said, when your children ask you why these stones are here and what they mean, you are to tell them that these stones are a reminder of this amazing miracle. And the nation of Israel crossed the Jordan River on dry ground. Tell them how the Lord our God dried up the river right before our eyes, and then kept it dry while we were all across. It is the same thing the Lord did 40 years ago at the Red Sea. He did this so that all nations of the earth will realize that Jehovah is the mighty God, and so that all of you will worship him forever. Now we move on to Luke chapter 14, verse 7 to 35. When Jesus noticed that all who came to dinner were trying to sit near the head of the table, he gave them this advice. If you are invited to a wedding feast, don't always head for the best seat, for if someone more respected than you shows up, the host will bring him over to where you are sitting and say, "Let this man sit here instead." And you, embarrassed, will have to take whatever seat is left at the foot of the table. Do this instead. Start at the foot, and when your host sees you, he will come and say, "Friend, we have a better place than this for you." Thus you will be honored in front of all other guests, for everyone who tries to honor himself shall be humbled, and he who humbles himself shall be honored. Then he turned to his host. When you put on a dinner, he said, don't invite friends, brothers, relatives, and rich neighbors, for they will return the invitation. Instead, invite the poor, crippled, the lame, and the blind. Then, at the resurrection of the godly, God will reward you for inviting those who can't repay you. Hearing this, a man sitting at table with Jesus exclaimed, "What a privilege it would be to get into the kingdom of God." Jesus replied with this illustration. A man prepared a great feast and sent out many invitations. When all was ready, he sent his servants around to notify the guests that it was time for them to arrive. But they all began making excuses. One said he had bought a field and wanted to inspect it, and asked to be excused. Another said he just bought 5 pairs of oxen and wanted to try them out. Another just had been married and for that reason couldn't come. The servant returned and reported to his master that what they had said. His master was angry and told him to go quickly into the streets and alleys of the city and to invite the beggars, crippled, lame, and blind. But even then, there was still room. Well then, said his master, go out into the country lanes and out behind the hedges, and urge anyone you find to come, so that the house will be full. For none of those I invited first will get even the smallest taste of what I had prepared for them. Great crowds were following him. He turned around and addressed them as follows: Anyone who wants to be my follower must love me far more than he does his own father, mother, wife, children, brothers, or sisters. Yes, more than his own life. Otherwise, he cannot be my disciple. And no one can be my disciple who does not carry his own cross and follow me. But don't begin until you count the cost. For who would begin construction of a building without first getting estimates and then checking to see if he has enough money to pay the bills? Otherwise, he might complete only the foundation before running out of funds. And then how everyone would laugh. See that fellow there? He would mock. He started that building and ran out of money before it was finished. Or what king would ever dream of going to war without first sitting down with his counselors and discussing whether his army of 10,000 is strong enough to defeat the 20,000 men who are marching against him? If the decision is negative, then while the enemy troops are still far away, he will send a truce team to discuss terms of peace. So no one can become my disciple unless he first sits down and counts his blessings, and then renounces them all for me. What good is salt that has lost its saltiness? Flavorless salt is fit for nothing, not even fertilizer. It is worthless and must be thrown out. Listen well, if you would understand my meaning. Next, we shall read Psalms chapter 80, verses 1 through 19. O shepherd of Israel, who leads Israel like a flock, O God enthroned above the guardian angels, bend down your ear and listen as I plead. Display your power and radiant glory. Let Ephraim, Benjamin, and Manasseh see you rouse yourself and use your mighty power to rescue us. Turn us again to yourself, O God. Look down on us in joy and love. Only then shall we be saved. O Jehovah, God of heaven's armies. God of heaven's armies. That was a minor error. I should not have drawn attention to it. Oh well, I don't edit, so you get to see me flub like this. Let me try again. O Jehovah, God of heaven's armies, how long will you be angry and reject our prayers? You have fed us with sorrow and tears, and have made us the scorn of the neighboring nations. They laugh among themselves. Turn us again to yourself, O God of hosts. Look down on us in joy and love. Only then shall we be saved. You brought us from Egypt as though we were a tender vine, and drove away the heathen from your land and planted us. You cleared the ground and tilled the soil, and we took root and filled the land. The mountains were covered with our shadow. We were like a mighty cedar tree, covering the entire land from the Mediterranean Sea to the Euphrates River. But now you have broken down our walls, leaving us without protection. The boar from the forest roots around us, and wild animals feed on us. Come back, we beg of you, O God of the armies of heaven, and bless us. Look down from heaven and see our plight, and care for this your vine. Protect what you yourself have planted, this son you have raised for yourself. For we are chopped and burned by our enemies. May they perish at your frown. Strengthen the man you love, the son of your choice, and we will never forsake you again. Revive us to trust in you. Turn us again to yourself, O God, the armies of heaven. Look down on us, your face aglow with joy and love. Only then shall we be saved. Finally, Proverbs for today, chapter 12, verse 27 and 28. A lazy man won't even dress the game he gets while hunting, but the diligent man makes good use of everything he finds. The path of the godly leads to life, so why fear death? I hope you enjoyed this reading, and I think I improved on this voice as I went along. So hopefully you agree and enjoyed that this particular voice, not just the reading. Obviously, the reading, the contents is the most important thing. But I hope that my performance adds, not subtracts. Um, anyway, thank you for listening. And as always, God bless you.